The movie begins in New Orleans at a shipping dock, where a large cargo ship is docked. A group of people unloads containers from the ship simultaneously. The distributor, Big P, is seen talking to a group of dealers, informing them that he has a capsule that gives superpowers for 5 minutes. He tells them they can have the quantity they need for free and sell them at whatever price they want. The dealers disperse, selling energy pills across the city. Among them is Robin, a dealer, who sells energy pills to a group of youths for $500 each. However, instead of paying the agreed price, the youths try to steal the pills from Robin and get into a brawl with her. Luckily, Officer Frank arrives just in time and orders them to disperse, preventing further violence. One of the youths tries to take the energy capsule to confront Frank, but hesitates when Frank reveals he knows someone took the pills, causing an explosion that distracts Frank, allowing the youths to flee as Frank pretends to apprehend Robin. Once he confirms the youths are gone, he releases her and gives her $500, the price of the energy capsule she gave him. It becomes evident that Frank has known Robin for a long time and gives her his motorcycle as a birthday gift. Robin is overjoyed with her gift. The next day, Art, a resident of a makeshift neighborhood in the direction of Neon's house, arrives at the dealer's doorstep. When Neon refuses to open the door, Art breaks in, demanding to know why Neon is searching for him. He learns that Art wants to buy a large quantity of energy capsules, knowing Neon as the dealer. Neon asks Art to wait outside while he fetches 3 power capsules. As Art takes them, his body transforms into fire, and he chases after Neon to kill him. Neo grabs Art from the window and pulls him inside the apartment. He grabs Art by his jacket and throws him into the bathtub, questioning him about the dealer who supplied him with the power capsules. Neo tells Art that the dealer is Big P, causing Neo to explode entirely due to overdosing on the pills. Art falls to the ground from the force of the explosion and loses consciousness momentarily. During this time, Neo remembers an incident involving his abducted daughter, Tracy, and wakes up, taking Neo's mobile phone before leaving the scene. Meanwhile, Robin is living alone with her sick mother and is preparing to go to her school. A report on a fire in a makeshift neighborhood appears on TV, prompting Robin's mother to ask her to call Neo because the fire occurred in his area. She is very worried about him because he is Robin's cousin. However, Robin tries to reassure her mother, telling her that Neo will be fine. Afterward, she goes to school on her motorcycle and sends a message to Neo on her mobile phone. Art receives the message instead and pretends to be Neo, asking her to meet him at a restaurant. Meanwhile, Frank, Landry, and Milo receive information about a bank robbery and head to the crime scene. At the crime scene, they meet Captain Crane, who instructs them to step back and informs them that the robbery will be handled by the Rapid Response Team. Frank realizes that the robbery was executed by someone with superpowers due to the energy capsule and decides to ignore Captain Crane's orders. He enters the bank through the back door, takes an energy capsule, sets his special watch for 5 minutes, and enters the bank, but in an unexpected way. It turns out that Griff took a power capsule that makes him invisible and appears in the same place where he is standing. He then attacks Frank easily and escapes from the scene. Frank chases after Griff, who creates chaos in the street to prevent Frank from reaching him, but Frank resists and continues to pursue Griff. Frank continues to resist and pursue Griff until he catches him. However, Griff grabs Frank's gun and shoots him directly in the head. At that moment, Captain Crane and Landry arrive, discovering that Frank is unaffected by the gunshot. Frank then realizes that the power capsule granted him bulletproof abilities. Griff attacks Frank and captures him, while Captain Crane summons Frank to his office at the police station. Crane scolds Frank for his actions, demanding him to surrender his badge due to violating laws and consuming forbidden energy pills. Frank tries to persuade Crane that the Rapid Response Team does not prioritize the safety of the city's residents. He asks for cooperation to stop the distribution of energy pills without involving the Rapid Response Team. Crane eventually agrees with Frank's arguments and offers to reinstate him under the condition that he apprehends Art because he is the key to capturing Big P, the major drug dealer distributing the pills. Meanwhile, Art waits for Robin at the restaurant. When she arrives, she receives a call from Neo's mobile phone, which she recognizes. However, she does not find her cousin inside and leaves immediately. As she reaches the motorcycle, she notices the punctured tire and is suddenly attacked by Art from behind. He manages to overpower her and puts her in the car trunk. Later, he takes her to a secluded location and interrogates her about the identity of the individuals in the photos. Robin denies knowing them, but Art realizes that she could potentially send a message asking for help from Frank. Art sees her attempting to do so and takes the mobile phone just as their boss, Garner, arrives. Garner informs them of a lucrative deal to sell their products in collaboration with a wealthy investor who has extensive connections with all the traders in South America. Meanwhile, Art asks Robin to call the dealer who gets his supply from Neo. Robin complies and calls the dealer, who instructs her to meet him at the supermarket, using the code phrase, crocodile tears. When Art arrives at the supermarket, he instructs Robin to enter while he pretends to be a regular customer, keeping an eye on her from a distance. However, Art loses track of Robin when a customer asks him for directions inside the supermarket. Robin enters a secret room in the back of the supermarket where she meets the dealer, Yellow, in his office. Yellow questions her about how she obtained his phone number, and she reveals that Neo gave it to her and instructed her to call in case of emergencies. She also informs him that Neo is dead, which surprises Gillo. When he asks why she's there, she tells him that Art is looking for Big P and wants to apprehend him. Gillo then takes a power capsule and sets out to confront Art. A fierce confrontation ensues between them, exchanging gunfire until Art gets injured and enters the office where Robin was present. There, he finds computer devices containing data on all the users of the power capsules, including tracking devices to monitor their activities. Art becomes optimistic about distributing more capsules, intending to use them for experiments on the residents. He also marvels at his automatic healing ability, allowing him to recover quickly from severe injuries. Meanwhile, as Robin tries to leave the supermarket, Yellow suddenly appears and chases her to kill her. Art defends her and fights Gillo, ultimately killing him with a knife. He then asks Robin for her help, but she hesitates due to her fear of him, knowing he killed her cousin Neo. However, Art assures her that Neo's overdose on the capsules caused his death and reveals that his only goal is to reunite with his kidnapped daughter, Tracy. Robin takes Art to the clinic where her mother works, and her mother begins stitching up Art's shoulder wound. At the same time, Frank goes to check on Robin after she sent the message. He sees from outside two undercover officers questioning her mother. They inform her that they saw Robin with Art, who is wanted for arrest. Frank enters through the window and pretends in front of them to be Robin's father's fiancée. He starts recording a live video, accusing the officers of being racist and against black people, threatening to expose them on social media. They are forced to leave, and Frank quickly follows them, sticking Robin's father's mobile to their car, activating the GPS to locate them. Meanwhile, Robin finishes and Art asks her if she ever tried the power capsules before. Robin tells him she never did because she witnessed someone overdosing and exploding due to them. He questions her about why she started distributing them despite still being a student. Robin explains their financial difficulties and her motive to cover her diabetic mother's medical expenses, as they didn't have health insurance. Art leaves the clinic and gets into his car to search for Big P. Robin insists on accompanying him and takes Art's car keys to force him to agree. She demands $100,000 for her mother's medical expenses, but they settle on $5,000 upfront, with a promise of $100,000 if they succeed in finding Art's daughter, Tracy. They agree, and Robin joins him in the car. Art begins to tell her his story, revealing that he was a happy officer in the army until a research company called Telos experimented on him and his comrades, trying to turn them into lethal weapons using genetic radiation. The experiment failed on everyone except Art, who unintentionally used his power during the test, resulting in casualties. Since then, he vowed never to use his power again, resigned from the army, and discovered that his daughter inherited the same power, becoming stronger as she grows older. At the same time, his daughter was the only child who inherited the superpower without using the capsules. Unfortunately, Telos Corporation orchestrated a car accident to abduct her for further experimentation. Art arrives at the location he pinpointed earlier, finding the computers at the supermarket. He prepares to present the energy capsules to investors, emphasizing that they are made from animal genes, each with different abilities such as speed, invisibility, or durability. Meanwhile, Art asks Robin to wait in the car and enters to confront a security guard. He quickly subdues the guard, dons his uniform, and coincidentally, Frank arrives at the scene, having tracked the officer's car using GPS. Recognizing the location as where Robin is, Frank meets her and inquires about Art, intending to apprehend him and return to work. However, Robin refuses to disclose Art's whereabouts, insisting he is a good person and is searching for his kidnapped daughter. During their conversation, Big P speaks with an investor named Rose, trying out the new product from the energy capsules on Candy, who gains the ability to regulate temperature and freeze objects upon touch. Art kills one of the guards using a glass shard from a crystal statue and faces off against Rose's henchmen. In the altercation, Art questions Big P again about his daughter's whereabouts, learning she is on a large ship named Genesis. At the same time, Frank enters and orders Art to drop his weapon. A scuffle ensues between Frank and Art, during which Big P takes advantage and retrieves a power capsule he had on his necklace. He transforms into a massive beast and attacks them. However, Art shoots a bullet at a gas pipe, causing a massive explosion that blows them out. After the chaos settles, Frank apprehends Art, who is injured and handcuffed. They get into the car to take him to the police station. Meanwhile, Robin sees Willis, the person Art had photographed before, and decides to chase him on her motorcycle. On their way to the station, Art tries to convince Frank that he is not a criminal and reveals that he is a former officer searching for his daughter, Tracy, who was kidnapped by Telos Corporation. He explains that they created the energy capsules using his daughter's blood and that even the police chief is involved because he took bribes from Telos officials. Frank starts to believe him and decides to help. They head towards the marina where the ship Genesis is located, where Art's daughter is being held captive. Art attempts to enter but is apprehended by Dr. Garner's men. Meanwhile, Robin arrives at the marina and meets Frank, who informs her that he has decided to help Art rescue his daughter. He gives her a Bluetooth earpiece so they can stay in communication. Later, Frank takes a power capsule and heads towards the marina gate, but the guard stops him, demanding he surrender, causing Robin to panic about the situation unfolding simultaneously. Garner speaks with Art, informing him that she is indeed conducting experiments on his daughter with the aim of advancing human genetics, which she believes will be a significant breakthrough in the field of medicine. She acknowledges that his daughter is providing a great service to humanity. However, Art becomes extremely angry and refuses to listen to her. One of her men intervenes and shocks Art with a taser, incapacitating him to be taken into custody on the ship. Meanwhile, Frank manages to rise from the ground due to the effects of the power capsule, which made him impervious to the bullets. He strikes the guard in front of him with all his strength, then proceeds to enter the ship to search for Art and Tracy. At the same time, Robin maneuvers one of the vehicles charging for the ship until she successfully reaches inside. She cautiously walks until she encounters Frank in the monitoring room, where he informs her about the effects of the power capsule he took, allowing him to resist bullets. Suddenly, he sees through the surveillance screens that Art is being restrained, prompting him to request the guards in the monitoring room to open gate number 27. Robin opens the gate as requested by Frank and he instructs her to monitor the cameras and inform him of any developments through the Bluetooth earpiece as he plans to rescue Art. After that, Robin activates the alarm to distract the guards and draws them away from Frank. Upon hearing Garner's voice over the alarm, she orders her men to investigate what is happening. Captain of the guard and Wilkes head to the corridor leading to the monitoring room, requesting the personnel inside to open gate number 16. However, receiving no response, they realize something is amiss. They then head to the monitoring room, finding the door locked. Wilkes takes a power capsule and rushes to the ship's captain, ordering him to set sail in 15 minutes. Meanwhile, Robin sees Tracy through the surveillance cameras, attempting to communicate with Frank, but the signal is weak, and Frank can't hear her clearly. Robin decides to take matters into her own hands and goes to rescue Tracy herself. As Frank walks through the ship's corridor with a guard following him, he takes a power capsule and attacks the guard. Robin sees this through the surveillance cameras and warns Frank using the audio amplifier. Frank engages in a fierce battle with the guard, utilizing the flexibility granted by the power capsule, even continuing to fight despite breaking his arm. Wilkes reaches the monitoring room and attempts to break in but finds the reinforced door locked. Robin manages to lock the door on the man she confronts and escapes through a rear door, having previously disabled the surveillance cameras. She then contacts Wilkes, instructing him to return to the room where Art is held to prevent his escape. At the same time, the rest of Garner's men search for Robin. After Art successfully persuades the guard to release him in exchange for a large sum of money, Wilkes unexpectedly enters and confronts Art, resulting in Wilkes being killed immediately. Robin reaches the room where Tracy is held, knocks out one of the guards outside, and takes the keycard to unlock the door, entering to find Tracy with numerous scars from the experiments. Robin informs her that her father has come to rescue her, which brings Tracy immense joy, as she had believed her father would never abandon her. The two leave the room together and meet Tracy's father on the ship's deck, where they embrace before deciding to flee the area. Suddenly, one of Garner's men, who has the ability to produce knives from his body, attacks them, engaging in a fierce confrontation. Art decides to use a power capsule to confront him and asks Frank to protect Tracy, intending to kill Garner and her followers. After taking the power capsule, Art emits powerful heat waves, easily defeating Garner and her followers before collapsing unconscious, near death. Robin rushes to him, desperately calling out to him, but he does not respond. Tracy then utilizes her powers, reviving Art, who wakes up just as Tracy reaches the peak of her happiness. They board the lifeboat and leave the area, leaving behind their troubles. On the second day, Art speaks with Robin, thanking her for all she has done and asking her to retrieve a bag from the car's trunk. Robin is surprised to find a huge sum of money inside the bag, which she can use to pay for her mother's diabetes treatment. And thus, our film ends. Support us by liking and sharing, subscribe to the channel, and activate the notification bell to receive updates. Goodbye.